Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. Ryan Grimm is in for Crystal Ball. It's great to see you, man.
And to make this show even more amazing, what we decided to do is stack a live audience with Trump supporters who are going to hoot and holler all show long. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be incredible. Ryan is referencing a CNN town hall last night, of which we have the best and the greatest moments from all of that, multiple different avenues that we're going to be talking about. So everybody, please don't worry. It's not just about Trump. We have some of the more insane moments about Stop the Steal, E. Jean Carroll, and all of that. Then we're actually going to talk about policy, but the debt ceiling, and we're going to talk about abortion. Then finally, his answer on Ukraine before we do some segments about Title 42, about the ending today at the U.S.-Mexico border and the migrant crisis and everything that we know about that. And then finally, a little bit of updates on the Tucker Carlson media empire, but also some Elon Musk invitations to Don Lemon. I'm actually doing a monologue about mammograms. I decided that since Crystal is gone, it's the Bro Show. We might as well do a monologue by a male about breast cancer.
We're in touch.
You will be shocked, by the way, about some of the things that I've uncovered. Thank you. Shout out to Dr. Vinay Prasad, actually, for flagging this to me. Some of you will be very, very interested in this. It's a big story about Big Pharma and all of that. And then I have Senator J.D. Vance, actually, who's going to be joining us here in the studio. I always do have the need to do this. Full disclosure, Vance, longtime personal friend. That said, he is joining the show. We will be talking to him about the Railway Safety Act that he introduced about East Palestine, Ohio, and we will be getting all the details from that, in which he will be talking about the Republicans in the Senate caucus who do not support that bill, and we'll get into it. But I always do feel the need to do the disclosure, Ryan, and that actually gets us, before we get to all of the Trump insanity from last night over at CNN, I just want to say once again, thank you all so much to the premium subscribers who've been signing up, helping us out as we're rebuilding our studio, getting to a point where CNN is not the only place that has to do a town hall with the former president, has that capacity. If you want to see the ability to do things like that, you can sign up, breakingpoints.com, to become a premium subscriber. Next week, we're very excited. We'll very likely have RFK Jr. here live in the studio, of which we will be able to do a long interview, and this is exactly the level up of what we want to get to. That's why we're getting the new studio. That's why we're building out our infrastructure, getting amazing partners like Ken Klippenstein, who broke that incredible story. So many other people that we're proud and able to support because of all of you. So once again, monthly, yearly.
Take a good look. Take a good look at these bricks, because this might be it for them.
That's right. You're not. Yeah. Listen, I love the bricks. Actually, Crystal more than anybody loves the bricks.
We'll throw her under the bus for the bricks.
Yeah, the bricks are gone, most likely. We'll see. Maybe they'll make a comeback. I actually fought for them, but we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and get to Trump. What do we have, Ryan? A moment of complete insanity, 70 straight minutes of Trump almost live on CNN. The clashes, the fact-checking, the stop the steal, so much happened. So we decided to start and break it down by, I guess, not only the timeline of how it began, but really in terms of content. First, we are going to start with Stop the Steal and with January 6th. Obviously, Stop the Steal and January 6th, noose around the neck of the Republican Party on the general election. But as I have always said here, with Trump, you get exactly what you see. And here's the thing. He's not going to change his mind. No matter how many times you ask him whether the election was not stolen or not, no matter how many times you want to fact check him live. And as you can see, not only from his answers, he believes this stuff in terms of every possible conspiracy theory. But second, the Republicans who are in the audience, they believe him too. Take a listen.
I actually say we did far better in that election. Got the most that anybody's ever gotten as a sitting president of the United States. I think that when you look at that result and when you look at what happened during that election, unless you're a very stupid person, you see what happens. A lot of the people in this audience, and maybe a couple that don't, but most people understand what happened. That was a rigged election.
That, by the way, just so everyone knows, that was the very first answer to the very first question. Now, I do want to say, we'll bring this up later with the focus groups. Everybody was like, oh, he immediately, listen, they're the ones who asked him about Stop the Steal, and they spent the first half an hour on all of Trump's personal problems, which I think is a huge programming mistake. That said, once again, if you do ask him about it, which of course the media will be asking him about it, Ryan, he hasn't changed his mind. No. He doesn't think he did anything wrong on January 6th at all. There was that famous cinematic moment where he's like, you want me to see the tweets? And he literally pulls out the timestamp of his tweets, which actually just vindicate the timeline that the CNN interviewer was asking about.
Okay, yeah,
but it doesn't matter, because to the audience, they were eating it up. They loved it. And I actually thought, Ryan, that the Stop the Steal answer and how it was supposedly repulsing Republicans. Again, I am not talking here about independent voters or Democrats who do genuinely hate Stop the Steal and find it like repulsive and abhorrent, at least electorally, as we can see in 2022. What is the very second question that is asked at the town hall? Will you pardon the January 6th rioters? We have some of that. Let's take a listen.
My question to you is, will you pardon the January 6th rioters who were convicted of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control.
So probably they got out of control.
A couple of them, one or two might have gotten out of control.
Stop the Steal on January 6th so far. What are you making of it? So, by the way, we know that most of you did not watch the town hall. We did our best to, compile some of this stuff together. But if you do have the time, go watch the 70 minutes. We're going to try our best here, to put as much of a narrative and all that. But I do encourage you, if you have the time, to go and watch the full thing for yourself.
All right, so on the one hand, I understand the criticism of the media here, and the focus group called out CNN, like, why does he keep talking about 2020? Well, your first question was about 2020. Your second question is about January 6th. So, gee, I don't know. Why does he keep talking about it?
That's true, yeah.
However, on the other hand, the guy gives those answers. So you're like, wow. Like, and I think it's important for the American public to see that.
Oh, I thought it was great.
That is who he is. He is by far the front runner for the Republican nomination, likely to be on the ballot against the sitting president. He's the former president of the United States. He's not just Celebrity Apprentice guy at this point. He's a former president. And if he's going to say that he is going to probably pardon most of the January 6th rioters, that is newsworthy.
No, not only newsworthy, but I think what it gets to is there is a level of highbrow Stop the Steal, which drives me insane, which Senator Hawley is absolutely guilty of. Many of these other people.
Ted Cruz will get into some of
Ted Cruz, they're like, well,
the commission, my commission idea.
Not just the commission, Ryan. They'll be like, but did you know that the Hunter Biden laptop story? And we're like, yeah, of course we knew that. And by the way, who has covered that more than we have here? We did an entire segment about it. And in fact, if the Trump town hall hadn't happened, we would have done another segment about it. We're very happy to, and we will be covering it on our Monday show. Congratulations. The point is that he doesn't believe that because the Hunter Biden laptop story that the election was stolen. And that is election interference. We can absolutely say that. But he believes that the votes were specifically rigged and changed in multiple different states. And that's what really hit from the town hall. He'd be like, well, in Milwaukee in particular, every city he has a story. In Georgia, he has a story. Milwaukee, he has a story. In Philadelphia, he has a story. And I already know the MAGA bots are going to be in the comments being like, well, did you see this one video? It's like, well, okay, prove it in court, And guess what? As they brought up last night correctly, they lost every single court case. If you had such compelling evidence, then presumably one judge, you can't even, if a pro-life people can get some crank judge in Texas to take down the, the abortion pill for like a week, you can't get one judge not even a state guy to go along with your nonsense. What does that tell you about you?
And this could be a good moment to do something for the YouTube censors here. What I'll say is Lindsey Graham.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Lindsey Graham made the point that this was not stolen the night of January 6th, early January 7th. Go watch his speech. It was incredible. He's saying what Saagar is saying. He's like, you guys say 10,000 dead people voted in Georgia. I asked for 5. I got none. You guys say that 60,000 Mexicans voted in Arizona. Show me 4. You said 100,000 people in Milwaukee turned out, that voted twice. Like, show me 10 of them, and I got 0. So that's Lindsey Graham. And so, to your point, he doesn't believe that it was unfair because the CIA coordinated with Hunter Biden and persuaded people to vote a different way. Exactly. He thinks that Hugo Chavez's ghost came in.
Yeah, he literally believes that. And so, and by the way, if you believe that, I think, I think you need help, and I think you're wrong. But I guess at least you're honest. You're more honest, or as honest as Trump. You're dishonest, though, if you're a Republican senator here in this town and you're singing a different tune about why the election was stolen, but not in the way that Trump says. And actually, you brought up a good point, just so everybody knows. every single time that we air a clip where Trump says that the election was stolen, we, according to YouTube guidance, have to make sure that we also say that the election was not stolen. Now, frankly, I mean, I don't think I should have to do that because even though I don't believe that the election was stolen, but I still have to say it because apparently that's what the content policy is.
Right. They think that viewers, as long as you and I say it, then the viewers are like, oh,
right.
Well, okay, never mind then.
It's not like you're smart enough to figure it out for yourself. That's what I think. Anyway, that's the YouTube policy. And also become a premium member because that's why, this is why things are precarious as they are. Let's go to the final clip here. Probably, honestly, the most shocking moment. Trump not only talks about January 6th, not only defends Ashli Babbit, the protester who was shot dead at the Capitol, calls the cop who shot her, quote, a thug. Let's take a listen.
Over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashli Babbit was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. At blank range, cold blank range, they shot her.
Whew, Ryan, that's something. And what you can see from Trump there, not only defending Ashli Babbit, he said that protesters at January 6th had, quote, love in their hearts whenever they arrived. Look, I mean, in terms of litigating all this, I do think it is a little interesting that the Republicans around the Ashli Babbitt case basically become the level of like BLM activists whenever it comes to Ashli Babbitt, but not so whenever it's like any sort of cop shooting. I do think we should be consistent, and I actually think it's totally legitimate.
Cop shooting. Yeah.
I think it's actually totally legitimate to be like, hey, was this a legitimate use of force? Like, you have this, and she broke through the window, right? And he immediately shot through the window. So then, you know, when we're talking about self-defense and all of that, I actually think it's a legitimate conversation just about how we should handle these things. What do riot situations look like? What are the breaching rules and all of that? That said, I mean, I think there's a lot of inconsistency here, and we're basically playing like cop identity politics in terms of when protesters, it's okay and what's not. But I mean, regardless of that, media-wise, you know that that probably triggered them more than anything else from the night.
You make a really good point, because if you compare it to other police shooting videos, where you will have 10 officers surrounding one unarmed person,
right, and
the unarmed person is kind of freaking out because they're like getting conflicting orders. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your head. Get on your knees. Don't move. No, move. And then they move a little bit, and then they all shoot him dead.
They shot him, yeah.
And they say, well, we were all in fear of our life because we saw him reach for his waistband.
Right.
Ashli Babbit was part of a mob that was kicking its way through the doors into the speaker's lobby there. The idea that the person who saw somebody reach for their waistband was totally justified in ending somebody's life, but that this person should have, de-escalated this situation in a different way. I might agree that maybe it would be nice if there was a way to de-escalate that. But I think that's a really good point to compare it to other police shootings where the same types of people are like, that was justified.
Yes.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Correct. Yeah. Well, listen, I think that's actually why I get so. This is why I think the discourse around this is so poisonous. It's like we're all criminal justice reform advocates whenever it comes for Jan 6 protesters, which I do think many of them were very unjustly treated. But, at the same time, it's like some lock them up thing for any crime that they don't like. Got to be consistent. That's how the law works.
Right.
And then finally, Mike Pence moment. This one is shocking too. He still truly believes that Mike Pence had the ability to change the election results on January 6th. Even though he had absolutely zero capacity to do so. Here's what he had to say.
One person who was at the Capitol that day, as you know, was your vice president, Mike Pence, who says that you endangered his life on that day.
I don't think he was in any danger.
Mr. President, do you feel that you owe him an apology?
No, because he did something wrong. He should have put the votes back to the state legislatures, and I think we would have had a different outcome.
Should have put the votes back to the state. Once again, he doesn't have the capacity. I also do love Trump's his explanation for why he could have done so. He's like, well, he could have done so because they tried to pass the Electoral Count Act afterwards, and he was like, oh, they strengthened it. Well, what they took out is any shred of legal ambiguity around it. So, it is just one of those where he believes it, people. That's the biggest takeaway. He believes the election was stolen, that Hugo Chavez's ghost and Chinese dominions and all these other people individually conspired and acted together, while Mike Lindell apparently is the only guy who's ever been able to find out about it, to go in and change election results. And if you sign on to that, this is what you're signing on to. This is why I actually think this was a great service for all of us. This is it. This is Trump. He's not going to change. He will never, ever, ever change. And that's probably the most evergreen thing that we learned about him.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.